double mic. Well, thanks for showing up this morning, and Kyle and Chase, thanks for sponsoring us. We thought it'd be great to have Jamie Dimon kick off. Those of you who don't know Jamie Dimon, he's the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, the country's largest bank. And as he mentioned, that large organization is just diving in whole cloth on AI. And I think that's a great way to sort of set the tone for today. Today isn't about, let's talk about all the terms around AI. It is really, how can you understand it for your business? How can you leverage some knowledge that you pick up today and begin to implement it to the benefit of your organization? Whatever your organization looks like. And we're thrilled to have the panel we have today because we were thoughtful about big businesses here in Gaston that may look at AI differently than small businesses. So you're going to hear from folks that can run the gamut, from Chase all the way to small entrepreneurial endeavors. We include Caramount Health, so you have regulated environment with healthcare and government, and then you have regulated with banks, and then you have entrepreneurs that maybe don't have to pay that much attention to that. So without further ado, I'd like to call our panel up here. So Robin Lang with Caramount, Tom Mumford with undergrads, Drew Horan with estate plan marketing, and we've got Kyle coming back up. So the way this is going to work, we're going to, well, we say I'm going to try to not go down the 16,000 rabbit holes that exist with conversation with AI, and just speak to ask these folks to tell us what they're doing in their organization. And we had a prep call. I wish we could have just recorded the prep call with them last week, because we could have just played that. It would have been perfect.
Because all these people came here just to watch a video.
Yeah. It would have been an AI generated video though, so but just to start, I know there are terms, so many terms in the AI space, but for those of you that aren't really familiar, this is not a new phenomenon. Artificial intelligence, the study that began in the 50s, but we didn't have the horsepower back then with the processing power to really get to where we are today. And we've moved into this generative AI. So if you think of ChatGPT and generative AI, essentially is where you can give an input and you can get an output. So it really requires you to drive that. And we're moving into this term, this space called agentic AI for agents. And so that becomes more proactive. So think about machine learning that Jamie mentioned. So you have back in the ether space this processing going on that is thinking for itself to some degree. And then ultimately, who knows when, we're not going to speculate, there'll be artificial general intelligence. So I was reading an article just this morning that somebody suggests in 15 years that there'll be this ability for technology that technology will be the last invention of humankind, because it will take over from that point on. Which can be a little scary. Well, actually, any of this can be a little scary. But what we want to do is show you how you can put it into practice on a daily basis to your benefit and can control. So, that said, what I'd like to do is just kind of go down the line. If you all would introduce yourselves and then speak a little bit about sort of AI, how you got involved in that and what it means to your company. And remember, we've got about 45 minutes, so let's be speedy. All right, Drew.
I'm Drew Horan. I'm the founder of EPM, also known as Escape Plan Marketing. We are a digital agency specializing in AI-powered targeted advertising for companies in the $1 to $100 million space. Really, over the past couple of years, AI has completely changed everything we do in the marketing world. It's made creating content much easier. It's made monitoring our advertising much more effective, and it's just enhanced everything that we've done, including all of the stuff that happens behind the scenes. But we actually have an AI-powered team member on our team, and so that's and because my entire staff is remote, it's just like another team member right there on the team. So I guess I'm the smallest business here, so we'll move on up.
Good morning, I'm Robin Lang. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Caremont Health. But you have to know, most importantly, that I'm a nurse by training. So I come at this approach in a couple of different ways, thinking how different AI use is with healthcare. At Caremont, we're a $1 billion healthcare system here in Gaston County, and we've used artificial intelligence for many, many years, almost as long as I've been a nurse. And that sounds funny to people who are like, are you kidding me? It just came out in 2022. And so when you think about algorithmic AI and machine learning and the if, then, do that kind of thing, algorithmic care has led to best practices in medicine for years and years. But there's always skepticism too. Is the computer right? And does the clinician still need to have, their own critical thinking to make decisions? So you've got this really delicate balance between that critical thinking and the human touch in this really technology heavy laden environment. And so we have the idea that we have to approach this with innovation, and for the patient to be at the core of every decision we make. And we know that there's great uses for it, because every clinical trial cannot be known by your surgeon, your oncologist, your rheumatologist, your neurologist, but AI can know them all, and AI can apply them to you individually, and that is something that is beyond the realm of possibility for us mere mortal humans. So I'm excited to talk today. I've had as much fun with the panel as you guys are going to have too.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you to the GBA for putting on this wonderful event. This is something that I don't think the community's gotten in Charlotte or Gaston, so it's great to see so many people in here. My name is Thomas Mumford. I am the co-founder of undergrads.com. And so what we do is get students jobs around their class schedules in residential moving and in the hospitality industry. So that could be from getting a couple students out to move your home, or to getting 1,000 students out to the Super Bowl, Kentucky Derby, F1, PGA, to staff their premium suites and be servers and bartenders. We are extremely excited about the release of AI, agentic AI, because it is going to completely revolutionize the service industry. I have a strong feeling that if there's anybody in this room in the service-based industry, you are in a really good position to capitalize on not only the automation side of AI, but also how it is going to enhance and upskill every single employee that works for your business and turn your 9-to-5 service-based industry business to a 24/7 operation. So yeah, really excited to dive in with what we've got today, and yeah, thanks again to the GBA.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kyle again, good morning. Hard to add more than what Jeannie already said in that opening video, but in the middle market where myself and my colleague Neil Silver work, and you're welcome to come join me up here if you like. We primarily use it a proprietary large language model called LLM Suite, and similar to other panelists say, we use it for research, document scanning, finding new clients, creating presentations, and just overall just creating more efficiency and making our lives easier.
All right, so the challenge will be where to start. So I think maybe the best place to go is, one of the concerns a lot of people raise, and I hear this on a regular basis, is, oh my gosh, AI is going to take everybody's job, and we're going to be in a terrible economic environment because of that. And if you listen closely to what everybody said, they're really using, it sounds like, AI to augment the humans, and it might shift what your job is. But if you all could talk a little bit about that, that'd be great. And I remember a comment in our previous session. I had Dr. Hooser in mind. Dr. Hooser's here. He's the president of Gaston College. And so I know earlier I thought, all right, we need people trained to figure out how to code all this stuff. And now I realize, no, AI does the coding. So what is it that education needs to train people? Somebody talked about helping move people up in their own business. So just talk about that, if you will, on the impacts that you see in your worlds.
Well, I think from a community business kind of perspective, one of the skills I think is lacking in the workplace right now, and this is not just having to do with AI, but the ability for people to think critically and to think for themselves. It can be really easy to kind of use AI in a lazy sort of way, where you're just kind of saying, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna let it do everything for me and not fact check it, not check, to make sure it's, you don't have any errors or anything like that. But also to get people to think creatively in new ways that they can do their jobs better, or break out and become entrepreneurs, break out and become community leaders, break out and solve some of community's problems instead of focusing on the drone, the mediocre work that the AI can actually do for it.
And I think in healthcare, that healthy dose of skepticism and helping with that process of thinking, do I understand foundationally how to deliver care to a patient from the time the patient arrives and care for their family, and then all the way through the back office operations, because it's easy to think of healthcare as doctors and nurses, but we are an entire business. We are a business back to the business of healthcare. IT is certainly a service back to the business of taking care of patients. And how do we use those services to be super efficient in a world where the healthcare dollar is remotely disappearing? We are fighting AI with the payers, AI with the patients. Patients are certainly consumers and need good information, and we all know that data is king, but data can be bad, and helping to navigate the world of really having a type of intelligence around the use of AI and the data that AI is giving you.
Yeah, and there's kind of a certain, I don't know if this is gonna,
Sure.
Mike was messing up on me. So there's a certain tipping point when AI came out, and if you aren't continuing to have your team learn more about AI, leverage AI in your business will be forever left in that efficiency that was before AI, before OpenAI released ChatGPT 3, and as you leverage up your team, now you can adopt that and you can gain those efficiencies. So especially when we're hiring, we're looking for people who can ingest AI in their daily lives. And if you can't do that, you're probably not the right fit for our organization, because we don't want to be left in the past, in the pre-GPT times. I think our whole team now understands the importance of it because of that. If you put that timeline in front of your team and say, well, look at how efficient all these other businesses were before ChatGPT came out and LLMs came out and agentic systems came out, do you want to live forever in that time? Almost like Jamie Dimon was saying before tractors came out. Is that how you want to live, or is that how you want to do business, or do you want to be efficient? And yeah, I think that's leveraged our team and helped them understand kind of where we're trying to get. And to your point, that's what we're looking for whenever we're hiring.
Yeah, no, agree with everything the panelists said. I think in my opinion too, not the bank's opinion, I think there will be new jobs created from this revolution over the next 10, 20, 30 years, however long it takes. And then you guys may saw earlier this week, Sam Altman said in 10 years from now, new grads will be getting jobs in space. So these new industries I think will form that we haven't even thought of yet. And just again, kind of create more efficiencies and giving people more time to work on more important things.
Yeah, and I would,
I think one thing that we should add is, as humans, we need to be adaptable. Technology is moving, we thought it was moving fast in the 90s when the internet started really just taking over everything, but it's moving at an exponentially greater pace now. And so a lot of education has been, based on fact-based learning, where you're learning specific facts about a specific thing. Education needs to be skills-based learning. Education needs to be adaptability, and we need to develop those soft skills in our workers, in our workforce that's rising up, so that people can think for themselves, and no matter what changes are coming along in technology, that they're adaptable in that workspace and realizing that the job that they do fresh out of college is not the same job that they're going to have in 5, 10, 20 years.
it's been interesting to me to see this cycle of blue collar, white collar, it seems to every couple decades, one has more emphasis, but if you think about for the traditional blue collar, AI today is not gonna go out and fix your mechanical system. Right? And so we still need people that have in the trades that skill set, and those are really good jobs and really good careers. And I'm glad to see our country is finally shifting the mindset of that to really honor the importance of those roles. While we have the AI that maybe in the white collar side, if you're somebody that does a lot of repetitive work, that job's probably at risk. But as was said, new jobs will open up, new opportunities will open up. And it's incumbent upon us to help people make that transition and accept the reality of AI. It is here, it is not going away. And to embrace what the opportunities that will come. So and I think about in Gaston with a heavy dose of manufacturing, even the manufacturing plants, with a lot of automation, you still have to have somebody there to help fix when things don't go right, or unload the trucks. I don't think Thomas is using AI bots, robots to unload his trucks when they're moving people in and out.
Not yet.
Not yet. So, today's conversation, just use the context of where are you today. Don't get too freaked out about what's 20 years look like. Just how can we manage the known as this thing really rapidly increases. And so that makes me think about how can we all stay kind of abreast of all of these advancements, because they are so rapid, like you said, Drew. So tell us a little bit about in your own organizations, how you keep up with the changes that are happening so quickly.
You keep putting me first. So, you know, it's really interesting over the past few years, AI has completely transformed the nature of my business. You know, EPM has been in business for about 9 years now, and it used to be a lot of manual, you know, we've got a person building the websites, we've got a person writing the content, we've got a person creating the graphics, we've got a person doing all of the research. And what we've seen is having AI take over not just the repetitive tasks, but the very time-consuming tasks has really made us a lot more efficient as a business. And so I'll give you a really good example. So whenever we take on a client, we want to do all of the research about you know, their target market, what are their customers saying about that type of business, you know, what language does the customer speak, what are their competitors doing, and all that. And that research, when we had people doing it, it used to take about a month to get all of that done and kind of get our ducks in a row so that we could form a really good plan. Now that research takes a couple of hours, and we can get that done and get to the business of actually making our customers money, which in turn makes me money, because I don't know about the rest of you, but I really, really like to eat.
I like to too. In healthcare, we have a philosophy of continuous learning, and you have to be absolutely ferocious about learning right now. You have to make space to read, to join podcasts, to look for some free educational opportunities. We were just talking this morning, you know, lots of the industries are offering some type of academy. Dive in, just learn what you don't even know the questions to ask yet. I still feel the same way. We're pretty far into the AI world, and we still have lots and lots of questions, and how do we apply it? And I know it sounds a little Debbie Downer today, but there's a lot of excitement here, a lot of possibility, a lot of opportunity, and being able to approach it with that mindset to figure out, how's this really gonna make things better? Thinking, for an example, we have a tumor board where your surgeon, your oncologist, your radiologist, your radon, they all come together. Your nurse specialist, your care navigators, but they only come together once a month, and they compile massive amounts of data about your case. And the best minds in the room sit there at one time and think through the best plan of care for you. With artificial intelligence, that meeting can happen today. It can happen this afternoon. We can use the technology for virtual meeting. We can put everybody together in a virtual room, and decisions can be made about your care that can start tomorrow. Well, I don't know about you, if I'm facing a life-threatening illness, I want that kind of care. I want to support the decision-making of the physicians. Now, they have to be able to trust it. And I will tell you, they're a very skeptical group. And even all the way back to best practice medicine and when protocols were being developed, there's a question of, is this cookbook medicine? Is this the best approach? And so really helping your teams kind of move that, your paradigm has to shift a little bit, that this is a co-pilot. There's a human in the loop that's gonna help make the decisions, but you've got this amazing tool to make the decision-making more accurate and more timely and can really impact outcomes for patient care.
And something that we do within our team is really encouraging every single person to take 30 minutes a day to listen to a podcast or prompt ChatGPT to go find a recent article to read about some AI release. You will be surprised how little effort people put in to learn about AI. If you take 30 minutes a day, you will be ahead of 99.99% of people. They might regurgitate the headlines that they're reading every couple weeks, but most people are not taking the time to investigate it. If you are in this room and you want to get ahead of every single other person, just take 30 minutes a day, listen to a podcast, and that will set you apart from almost every single other person. And implementing it is not that hard. So if you do have an idea or you do want to bring it in your organization, there's YouTube, which you can watch a 30-minute to an hour video and ask ChatGPT how to implement whatever it is that you're doing. And those two resources will allow you to connect, do whatever you need in your organization you're trying to do most of the time, not every time, but I'm not technical. I don't know how to code. We just released a voice agent that I put together in about 3 hours. I'll give you guys the phone number if you want to call it and try it out, but essentially what it does is you can talk through your move information you have coming up. It stores all these variables, so essentially it does what our sales reps are doing. It's entry level and just collects the information, and so our sales reps can then call and prospect the customers that are going to be the most likely to close. We set that up in about 4 hours. I had no idea how to do any of this before I watched the 30-minute YouTube video. That's how easy it is. The more you listen to this stuff, the more you learn about it, the more you're going to be able to implement it. So that's what I would suggest you guys do, and that's kind of how we're staying ahead of the curve, the AI curve, if you will, within undergrads.
Yeah, I echo everything Panelix said. I think this is the greatest time to ever be alive, and the changes over the next 10, 20, 30 years are going to be remarkable. The only other thing I would add here is just, I follow and listen to the earnings calls of the hyperscalers. For the Wall Street Journal, Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft are going to spend $400 billion with a B on CapEx related to AI this year. It's kind of hard to fathom. That's wild.
Yeah, we won't even get into that. There's a lot of energy that's required to drive all of this processing too. So this is not just an easy thing being done on the side. It really affects an awful lot of the economy and communities. So one thing we discussed when we were having our pre-call is how much do you all think it's important to acknowledge that AI is being used to your customers? So Thomas mentioned that you've got maybe your first line of communication with a customer is an agentic AI bot or whatever terminology you use. Do you all tell people that? Or the bank has a lot behind the scenes. And we were talking, Robin and I were before, something similar to this. So help us with how honest should we be about the technology piece versus the people piece?
Well, we're sitting in a room with a whole bunch of people staring at us, talking about AI, so I think the cat's out of the bag. There are comfort levels with different clients. We have some clients that are very young, that are scared to death of AI. We have some clients that are much older that have completely embraced it, and the opposite. There's been a lot of talk about the fears of like AI getting something wrong, AI messing up some data. We were hearing the same thing when we were talking about self-driving vehicles and things like that. I passed 2 wrecks on the way here this morning, and those were driven by humans. If you don't think humans can get things wrong, you're not on Facebook. So, you know, we've got those things as well. Is AI going to get something wrong? Yeah, it is. But what percentage is it getting wrong compared to your Uncle Bob next door? So there's a lot of analogies that you can use to kind of make people more comfortable with it. But I think really the key is education. We try to be transparent about the way that the tools that we use to market our customers. And at the end of the day, you know, it's a question, you know, is it more important for our client to have a human writing their content, or is it more important for them to have content that makes them money? And, you know, as a marketing agency, I have to focus on those deliverables for our customers.
So in healthcare, we have huge governance structure, and we may talk about that some, because if you're Thomas, you might can dive right in and get straight to work, and you can use your employees to grow and scale and implement quickly. When you're a 5,500 employee, heavily regulated on both the healthcare side and the financial side, you know, super heavily regulated, we have to understand exactly how we're going to use AI, when it's going to be patient facing. Is it ever okay? And we have to ask these hard ethical questions. Is it ever okay for AI to make a patient facing decision without the human in the middle? And as of today, we believe no, that there's never an appropriate time with a patient that the AI should, without any intervention of a human, make a patient impacting decision. Can it craft the message based on how the physician speaks to patients for the physician, so there can be a quick review, yes, that's the answer I want to give the patient, and out the door, instead of the physician is going home in the evening, having a quick fight with his wife and kids, or her husband and kids, and then spending a couple of hours before bed, finishing up, because you know, technology's changed healthcare. We're always on, always available. I don't know how many of you have a patient care portal, but think how easy it is to talk to your care team. You used to see your care team twice a year, 3 times if you were sick, maybe more if you had a chronic illness. Now, your care team is available to you 24/7 via that technology. So how we use the AI with patient care is to free up the time of the caregiver, that cognitive burden of the caregiver, to say, hey, this was generated with assistance, but it was reviewed by your practitioner. So we believe in full disclosure for that, but we don't tell them their statement was processed by a computer, or that their supplies were delivered by a robot. They see the robot and they think he's super cool. His name's Tug. He wears a badge and everything. We've had him for about 25 years. So robotics in healthcare and disclosing to patients that we use the technology in a very real way is comforting to the patients, because they expect, if you want to be the community's most trusted healthcare partner, then you can't leave out the word trust. You have to have that transparency.
Yeah, and Robin, the word trust is 100% spot on. We're head over heels for voice agents, and that's been changing our business. And we found that, I'm going to dive into some data here so everyone can understand how to disclose that you're using agents. So we found that there are 2 sides to this. You can either disclose it or you cannot. And most of the customers that we interacted with, in May, we had 550 interactions with our voice assistant named Penny. And essentially, Penny discloses that she is an AI moving assistant. And what we didn't want to do is scare the customers away with that, but what ended up happening was customers got a level of trust with this agent, and they interacted with it on average for 3 minutes for every single missed call that we had. Rather than trying to leave a voicemail with just the random voice message, and you've got to start from a very blank beat with no prompt after that. We found that our conversions increased 80% on voicemails, and not only that, we got a ton of information from all our customers. And so this was on that full disclosure side, build the trust with the customer, let them understand that they're working with an assistant. It's gonna be super awkward the first 5 seconds when they're trying to figure out how to talk with it, but once the conversation gets going, they really enjoyed it. A lot of customers will text us or call us back saying how much of a enjoyable experience that was with the AI assistant, and usually it's the older demographic that's like, wow, I just talked to some robot for 15 minutes. So they really enjoy the full disclosure and getting to play with it. On the other side is the non-disclosure. So you don't need a confirmation email to be disclosed as AI. Same thing when you're booking a flight. If Delta is giving you a confirmation email, do you really care that a robot automated that email? Probably not. On our customer service side, when someone leaves us a review, I read every single review. I do not respond to every single review. I have our AI assistant write up a review draft that is 10 times better than I could ever come up with, that makes the customer really appreciate it. If it's 5-star, if it's not a good review, they handle the customer service side of things and make sure that customer's taken care of. So that saves us on average about 5 hours a week. And so on that side, it's not necessarily a transactional experience, but it's not necessary to dive into. It's an AI writing this review. So both sides build trust, but I think that gives a pretty good example of how you should be disclosing, at least on the service side.
And Thomas knows I'm gonna do this. So this happened when we practiced too, because it's fascinating to me to be talking with them, and we've had this conversation as we're thinking about what are you teaching the coming generation. And I asked Thomas a question that was asked me that I thought was a phenomenal question. How does he know that he has trained his agent to have good customer service? Because now you're talking about values, right? So kindness, compassion, patience, timeliness. Does Penny get tired of me asking the same question and say, okay, your time's up? You know, again. And so how do you know that what it's been taught? Do you know the model? Did you build the model and it's based on your values and what you think is important for customer service? Did you purchase it? And are you sure the people who built it and built the model represents how you want interactions to occur? And you don't necessarily have to answer that, but I think that's an ethical thought that you have to take away for anything you're initiating that's gonna be automated and face a customer. Is it representing you and your business in the way that you want it to?
Yeah, and a really good way to think about this is when you get a new employee, what are you having them review for the first 2 weeks when you get onboarded? What do you want them, or how do you want them to represent your business? What books do you want them to read? What information do you want them to review? And a lot of that can be uploaded to what's called a knowledge base, which is how the agents understand your business and how to interact with customers. And this is really important. You want to be uploading books, documents, for the sales team. We upload George Belford's Way of the Wolf, Alex Hermosi's kind of library of books, Never Split the Difference. So there's a lot of different knowledge articles that you can upload to these agents, but it is very important to train them on how to interact with customers, how to have that level of respect or build that rapport to the customers. And if you don't do that, you're going to lose that trust.
Yeah, and Kyle, I know from experience with having a bank issue, and I'll go online, and you have the option to just chat, and you can tell they're kind of automated responses, so it's not voice, but it's through text. Or you can call the 1-800 number, and clearly you're talking to a human. So how do you all, with such a huge, wide, global operation, look at this notion of customer service from AI to human?
And I mean, in my opinion, that's really hard to add any more than what the panel already discussed there. I think they kind of nailed it in that perspective. And what I find personally, I think it's usually disclosed to when I'm talking to an AI agent online, whether it's United or any other airline. And then as well, when you read articles too, I've found that disclosure at the bottom often very much say that we use an LLM for X or Y part of this article, or an LLM read and made edits to the article too. So I mean, but I find personally, I mean, it's disclosed very regularly.
And I just wonder over time, when will we just not have to do that? Because it will be obvious. And we were talking a little bit before this, there are the generation, so Steve's daughter Sophie, although she's what, 12, 10, she's actually like 30. But, so her generation knows nothing but this stuff. So it's us that have been around a while that need to learn about it, understand it. It will be just natural for these other generations. And so that brings a whole other dynamic in the workforce, which we won't get into, but there's the multi-generational challenge in the workforce. Now there's gonna be sort of the multi-technical challenge in a workforce, because your senior leaders are likely not gonna be the 10-year-olds, and the 10-year-olds are gonna have all this ability to drive the technology. So we'll see how that plays out. But since this is a business group, I'd like to shift this to more of a business focus, and I'm not sure that Rob and Kyle can get to the bottom line, but return on investment of AI. And I say that because you all are part of huge organizations. But help the audience understand, talk about AI, how you're using it. Some people may be thinking, so what? So help them understand, what's the value that you ascribe to incorporating AI into your work? And we'll just start on that.
Sure. Yeah. No, I would say I ask my clients and prospects this question all the time. What are they seeing from an ROI perspective? And so far, none of them have truly seen an ROI at this point. They continue to invest in it though, but I think it's just so early. I don't know if really any organization though is truly seeing an ROI. As mentioned before, we're probably in the bottom of the first, if not batting practice of this revolution though here today. So again, I think it's hard to truly measure an ROI at this point.
I think that's one of the greatest challenges for us in healthcare. So if any of you have visited, you could be an Atrium patient or Novant or Caramont, and if you've gone into your practice, you've likely encountered a provider who says, I'm gonna use my phone, if it's okay with you, my assistant's gonna transcribe our visit. Well, that's DAX, that is Dragon, or a Bridge, or DeepScribe. There's a lot of virtual assistants now that are able to take that medical conversation and create the note for the provider, capture all of the assessment findings, allow for a plan of care to be developed, and it's done in moments instead of after you leave the office when the physician forgets what you talked about, or maybe forgets to order something you said needed to be done. And so we have that at a great expense. It is enormously expensive. It's a per provider per month. So if you have 100 docs on, you're talking about $1 million investment a year. And getting a real return on that investment means not only understanding the soft metrics, so the things like improved efficiency, cognitive burden, patient satisfaction, provider satisfaction, those are all great things, but they don't help pay that $1 million price tag for that technology. And you have to continue to roll it out because it becomes a standard of care. Our new residents are coming out of universities, that's what they expect to be available. So how you do that is you gain efficiencies so that you're improving access to care, which is our #1 goal anyway. So do we make space now that instead of seeing 9 patients today, the doctor can see 11, the APP can see 12, and you increase capacity to do the work, the most important work of getting patients in the door. And it's really difficult to capture that because patient care is extremely complicated. It's not widgets and everybody's the same. We could all go see the doctor today for appendicitis. I don't know, there's probably 60 or so of us in here. We would likely have 45 different plans of care based on our medications, past history, current condition, and all of those things have to be considered when you're looking at your return.
For our business, our largest expense is our OpEx. And with the interaction of agents, we've seen almost a 3x return on the efficiency gains of our sales teams, logistics, and operations. Mainly because a lot of what they're doing is what I like to call billboard. So they're collecting information and then they're internalizing it and then trying to either convert the lead or relay information out to the crews that are on site, or if we're doing check-in for the Super Bowl, you got 1,000 people trying to figure out where to park. Well, you got to pay somebody to be on the phone lines to answer questions, and now that's an agent, which is a fraction of the cost, and a lot of these issues can now be escalated to a human that need it, and that human, rather than spending 10 minutes per person with these issues, can now spend 1 minute, 3 minutes per person for these issues. It's a lot more efficient. Same thing with sales. Our typical sales lead took about 6 minutes to get through the door. Now, because we use AI agents to get that reward information, it only takes 2 minutes per sales, to get the sale through the door. So sales reps are now 3 times as efficient. They can handle more leads. Again, it's like the introduction of the tractor. You are now a more efficient farmer because you can use the tools. So it's tough to track because obviously it's an efficiency gain, but from an investment standpoint, we'll keep pouring money into it so that we can stay number one in the industry or stay in the front of the industry so that we're not falling behind on at least learning about it, how to implement it into our business. But yeah, to your point, it's all an efficiency gain within your team and how can you implement it.
And I think maybe what you're seeing here is as we scale down to the size of the business, we're seeing more gains initially, like as a small business, we're a boutique agency, and so we see a lot of gains in this from a time management standpoint. Solopreneurs to 100-person companies are going to start seeing the returns on this investment a lot faster than a $100 billion company. But where we see the most impact is really in our time. As a small business owner, time is everything. And so if I can make my work much more efficient, if I can make my team's work much more efficient, that makes me a lot more return on that investment, and the investment is a lot more minimal. I don't have hundreds of millions of dollars invested in AI. I have hundreds and thousands of dollars invested in AI, and so it's a lot different for a micro business, if you will, to be able to see those returns because you're just able to be a lot more effective. As a business owner, I can only be so many places, but it allows me to be at more places. It allows me to meet with more people. It allows me to take care of more clients more effectively. And kind of like Robin was saying, it allows the doctors to be able to see, even if it's 2 more patients, that means 2 more people get care. That means that more people are being taken care of more efficiently in a way that makes them feel seen. We started to touch a little bit on the human aspect of AI and the how to make people comfortable with it. And I noticed that we all kind of give our AIs a name. My AI assistant is named Grace, and she talks to me just like any other team member. And so, and my clients know that I'm collaborating with Grace. And they ask me how Grace is doing. Like she's out on a date or something. But Grace makes me a better business owner. Grace makes me a better customer service person, a better marketer, because I'm able to have her do those tasks and give me a lot more time to focus on how I can be better at what I do.
So we're talking to a bunch of people that are here making money. The GBA is about providing service, and I see some other nonprofits in here. And so we could also have a conversation about what's the value enhancement by introducing AI. And we've actually done that. I see Milana Corwin here. She was an intern with us this summer. She's at Belmont Abbey, earning her 2nd degree at the moment. And we said, Milana, we know we have a bunch of data. We touch a lot of businesses. How can we help them be better, more effective, more productive through AI? And we've actually introduced on our website, it's nothing dramatic compared to what some of these folks are doing, but what Milana designed for us is a little assistant that can help you navigate the website. And I don't know if you're challenged like I am, but you have to decide in the top bar of the 5 options of categories, where's the thing I want? And so now you can just ask on the GBA site, what's the deal with events coming up? And it will answer. So we've done that, and then Steve has helped create, with Milan has helped, a GBA GPT. So as investors, you'll have access to that, to go in and ask it questions that we've really been thoughtful about the sourcing of the data. So we built this knowledge base, that's one you all call it. So if you want to open a business in Gastonia, you can go through your portal as an investor, ask the question, how do I start a business in Gastonia? And it will pull from a bunch of different documents that we source to give you that information. So we see that as value to you all, and value to the general public when they go to our website. Does that ultimately mean that you stay with us longer? Maybe. Does it mean we attract new investors? Maybe. But the bottom line is we're value driven, not so much bottom line driven. But I think it's kind of relatively, it's relative to each other. So we are at time for some questions from the audience. So thank you for the panel, and this can be for anybody here.
Okay, Josie's got a question about Skynet, first of all, so.
First, Steve, your assistant's name, AI assistant.
Samantha, yes.
Samantha.
Samantha's been with me for a while. Someone had a question over here.
Hey Barbara, how are you? Feel free to say who you are real quick.
So I'm Barbara Mercado with Progressive Company. So we're an architecture engineering firm. And when I look at this matrix on the board, you've got some, I think Drew called it micro company. We talked about a couple macro companies. We're probably somewhere in the middle, 380 people, over 4 offices. And the things we are doing obviously are helping us write, helping us research, helping us render. My question though is, how do we talk to our IT people intelligently? In that, I understand we want to be safe, and I look at the large companies that chase Bank of America or someone of the world, and they just put dollars and dollars into protecting and writing their own software. And we keep getting kind of, but wait on that, don't download anything, we don't want 380 people downloading different things, then all our information gets out there. How do we talk to our IT people about what would really help us and have them understand the business case for that?
I'm gonna let the CIO take that one.
I think that's appropriate.
One of the things that happened at Claremont Health when I became CIO is I recognized there is definitely a language barrier, and we've known that forever. And how do you build stewards who can articulate the best business practices to your IT team who are thinking critically about things like security and privacy, and particularly when you're heavily regulated? How do you forge that relationship? Because it is all about the relationship and partnership together, and helping your technical officers understand that you want to be safe too. Nobody's interested in being in the headlines for having had a breach, loss of data. You're sensitive on marketing or plans, your mergers, acquisitions, your financials. You think about someone going home with access to a OneDrive, and they just needed to get some work done over the weekend. So they took very sensitive financial data off your secure server on site, uploaded it to their OneDrive, ta-da, it's available to AI now, and it can be shared and replicated and researched and found. So the risk is real. But having that partnership where your IT team understands they're not there to do IT. There is not an IT person that works for me that is not in direct patient care. Now that'll make me cry. When I first became CIO and I asked my tech team, how many of you are in direct patient care? They're like, oh my God, they have hired an Indian to be our CIO. Today, they will tell you how proud they are to be the foundation of patient care at Claremont Health. They understand the business. Your IT team has to understand the business, be all in for the strategic plan of the business, partners in the business, and if they're not, you might not have the right team.
Okay, a couple others here.
Hey, I'm Chad Wright. Got a question for Kyle. How does the bank with the to incorporate AI with that concern?
Yeah, I'm gonna respectfully pass on that question for now, but if you send me an email though, I'm happy to get like further details on that.
I can touch on that for you. So there's a few different ways that like banks and heavily regulated industries are approaching this. So they can create their own models and put them in their own servers. So rather than all their data going out to OpenAI or Anthropic or XAI, it's staying in-house within their own servers. Essentially, you know, they take the OpenAI brain, put it into a small computer that's on site, and then that is how all the data runs. It runs through there, you know, Chase AI, if you will. I don't know what it's called, but yeah. And so it's going to be running through their servers, and that doesn't hit any external servers. So regulation is a massive concern for a lot of these larger businesses, and that's kind of how they're getting around it right now. So yeah.
I'm John Church. Patrick, you asked for what an example of ROI on AI, and what I do now when I go to the doctor and I get my reports back on my chart, I send the results to ChatGPT so they can help me understand what it's actually saying, because a lot of times I don't understand it. And recently I just had a heart scan, and I'm starting to read up on it and try to figure out what it all means, but you know, 1 in 3 people will die of heart disease. So I think a lot of us in this room probably have heart disease and don't know it, like I do. And how do you deal with it? And how do you interpret some of the information you get? And I recently got a scan. So I went on the internet to look for an AI tool that could help read the scan so they can more clearly tell me what I can do and what types of plaque are in my heart, because there's different risk levels. And you know, the traditional reports that you get when you talk to cardiologists, you don't get that information. So for me, I think it's a perfect example of how we can really use the tool to help us learn more about what our health. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that. And it's I'm still, and there was one company called Clearly. They're out there that interprets CAT scans and gives that detailed information, and it's not here locally yet, but I'm trying to find where I can find it and send my scan so I can get the results back.
John makes a really good point there. You know, you think about the tools that we've had for a while, like Google Translate can translate English to Spanish or Chinese or something like that. ChatGPT can translate doctor to patient. It can translate IT to customer service. It can translate CEO to frontline worker. And that's, if we kind of come back to how does AI help us to not only run better businesses, but live better lives, to better communicate with one another. If you ask people, I'm not gonna go political here, but if you ask people about the political climate in our country, a lot of them will say people don't know how to talk to one another. If we can start to do things to bridge the gap between people who speak different vocabularies, imagine what that will do to unite us as humanity.
Translate Gen X to Gen Z also.
It does a good job of that.
Hi, good morning, Neil Moore. My question is about ethical versus unethical use of AI, particularly in the advertising market. In my industry, that's been topic number 1 in our professional association.
Give me an example of what you would consider an unethical use of AI.
I could put together AI ad and make the person on the screen look just like you, saying completely false statements or negative statements about my business or your business.
And you can also do that with an actor.
Yeah, sure, and that happens. So
And
it's
so-
still a wild, wild west out there on the internet.
It kind of is, and advertising and marketing is still very much, even though it's regulated, we're supposed to tell the truth. We have to follow a lot of rules. We talked about regulation in the healthcare industry and the banking industry. Marketing has our own regulations, and AI is it's a tool just like anything else, just like social media, just like tractors. You can use it for good or evil. You know, you can use a tractor to go out and plow a field, or you can use a tractor to, you know, crash through a window of a storefront in downtown. So those are extreme examples. Don't be driving your tractor downtown, please. But ethics goes beyond the AI question. It's a matter of, if you're a marketer or if you're a business, you know, are you going to tell the truth to your customers? Are you, you know, we all want to present ourselves in a positive light. I mean, that's just normal. I mean, you're not going to sell anything by saying, you know what, my product sucks. But at the same time, it kind of goes back to that whole trust issue, and that's where things like your reviews and your customer feedback, the things, your reputation in the marketplace, it will suffer if you're acting in bad faith. And you know, it may prosper in the short term. We all get spam ads all the time. We all get our spam calls and things like that. Almost all of those are AI generated. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of negative that you can use AI for. But if we as business people, if we as marketers will commit to using it in ethical ways, and no matter how we do our marketing, we're presenting our marketing in a transparent and an honest way, that makes everything better. But we're all humans, and we know that I don't want to say there are bad humans and good humans, but there are humans with different standards. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I was just reading something just this morning, Neil, about sort of that deep fake notion, and that people are looking at ways to put a permanent signature on some of that product, much like cryptocurrency would have, so you can track that to see if it's been modified. Now, the original one, I guess, has to be fair and honest and ethical. But it's a great question, especially going into election cycles. We already get inundated with all kinds of stuff you might not say is fully true. Well, how much of it is even known by the candidate that it's been created and it's all just fake stuff? So that's definitely a real challenge. Yeah.
Kyle, you brought some books as well. Do you want to share with us on the tables at least?
Yeah, no,
Which
this
were-
is one of the books from our summer reading list. Yeah, JP Morgan does a reading list every summer. This is Rise of AI. Thought it was appropriate for today. It kind of just goes through the past, present, and future of AI. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it.
Okay, so yeah, we've got some here. If we need to get some more, I'm sure we can get them to you all as well. We'll put 2 or 3 at each table.
Good morning, guys. This is Jack again from Hypertron. We build AI agents for our local community. I just wanted to talk about the ROI. We are seeing uptick on the ROI, considering from the contractors, whether it can be sole proprietor, trade person, to multi-million-dollar companies. We have worked with CentraCare. That's right now the second best hospital in the state of Minnesota. The 2025-2026 rankings. We have incorporated everything that we can think of the use cases of the local hospital. That also includes a human touch in between. Plus, we moved to this region back in 2024. That was the decision of my wife. Just needed to have some warm weather, I would say. But currently we are assisting local businesses, small to medium size. I have been working in IT from past 15 years as an AI architect, and just wanted to let small and medium sized businesses take advantage of AI. If I talk about ROI, if let's say a real estate agent is leveraging a chatbot or voice assistant the ROI is equal to one customer. What do I mean by that is, if that particular agent will generate $3,000, that's the whole return for one whole year. So from local, tradesperson to medium-sized businesses are seeing more better returns. And if you are not going to use AI, your competitors would. Lastly, my question is, where should we put line between AI assistant versus AI autonomy to the panel?
Assistance versus autonomy.
So I will start by saying, we talk a lot about ROI, but don't lose sight of cost avoidance too, because a lot of this efficiency helps you control costs. Sometimes it's labor costs, sometimes it's supply costs, but I think AI can definitely help you with cost avoidance, even if you're not seeing a bottom line ROI. For autonomous AI, it will definitely depend on the use case for us in healthcare. We're not there. Our governance and guiding principles believes that a human has to be in the middle, and we haven't found a process yet that we think we don't have to do that with generative AI, at least not yet in healthcare. It's there, and there's the ability to just let the AI do. I mean, certainly radiologists will tell you that AI has been the strongest foothold in their industry of all, and it is infamously accurate, and the radiologist truly is doing an overread just to make sure there's not that error. And you have to think about the unique risks of AI. As technology gets better, the risk typically goes down. With AI, it's inverse. As AI gets better, the risk goes up. And the risk goes up because we lean into it and trust it without question. So we could allow the AI to just read every GI study, every chest x-ray, every CAT scan, and it's phenomenally accurate. But 5% of the time it is not. And you don't want to miss that 5% of the time. So we've not yet embraced autonomous AI in our healthcare setting.
And when thinking about autonomy compared to, call it human in the loop or some agentic system, it really comes down to your customer. So what is going to provide your customer, your end user, with the best experience possible, and what will level up that experience. I'll go back to sales again. For us, moving is a very high touch industry. It's one where you want to feel like you're getting taken care of, and you can't provide that high touch experience if you've got a sales rep who has other customers to deal with. But if you can, at volume, give each customer their own autonomous AI agent to ask any question to update their booking, to just basically be their moving assistant, then they're probably gonna have a better experience, even if they get some things wrong along the way. Just because you have that 24/7 availability. It really just comes down to what do your customers need and what they're looking for, and what will enhance their experience. And if you're okay with some errors along the way, and again, even with autonomous driving, you've got drivers that will make errors, so who's to say that your employees wouldn't make some errors along the way too? So just looking at what that return is, I'd say the percentage of accuracy is, and that's how you can kind of lean into the automation side, or if you just need to have human in the loop to perfect, get 100% correct along the way, then yeah, that's where I would go.
Okay, one more question, then we're going to show you guys something.
This is more of a perspective. My day job is for a major home improvement retailer, not the orange one, the blue one. We have our own version of ChatGPT. It's quarantined, so you're talking about security and stuff like that. Multi-billion-dollar company's not going to let their information get out there in the world, so it's behind our server walls. So we deal with that every day. Back to what I do, I use ChatGPT to make different versions of multicolored tumblers that do menial tasks that I can save them out. Like, it's, I was sharing a story earlier. So down to like grassroots, like, I don't write code. Like, I'm a graphic designer and I sell merch. I need Photoshop to do this for me. The conversation was scary real with Chance because it was like I was talking to somebody right next to me. So I think you have to be inquisitive and the critical thinking is there. I need it to do this. Oh, you gave me that. I need you to do this now and let it kind of do the ideation and start the conversation that way. So that's kind of where I'm passionate about it because I'm a one-man wrecking crew, so I needed to do different things. So if you can apply it that way with your small business, then you're making leaps and bounds. If you don't adapt to it, then to Thomas, you're going to kind of get left behind a little bit. So will it replace jobs? Did I maybe take a programmer's job by writing JavaScript code at 1 o'clock in the morning? Probably so, but my bottom line's important too. So I wanted to kind of share that with the group as well.
I think that, and even going back to the last question, we have to look at it as differently. We look at our employees, and how many of our employees have, can just do whatever they want in the company. I would imagine none. We need to think of this as more of a collaboration. This is not letting something do things for me. This is working with. This is, this and, so it's not a matter of just saying, oh, well, I'm just gonna let this thing go and ignore it. This is, okay, I've got a business idea. I'm gonna go to the grades and say, okay, here's my ideas. What are the pros and cons of this? Poke holes in it. If you've dealt with ChatGPT, like when GPT-4 came out, it kind of became kind of a suck up. And it would always like give you this confirmation bias, and so you had to train it not to give you confirmation bias. But as you're collaborating with your AI, as you're using this in a way that says, okay, we're working together, it's the same thing with your employees. Work with your employees. Collaborate with your employees. Don't just let somebody go off the rails, but also don't tie them down so they can't do anything and have a voice in your company. Collaborate with, and everybody's going to be better.
Any final takeaways for the audience, what they can do today?
I'm just more curious, does anyone use any large language model besides ChatGPT? Does anyone use Gemini, Claude, Perplexity? I'm just curious. Fascinating. It's only 3 or 4.
You're just making me want to go back and watch Odyssey 2001. No aid.
Without calling how, yeah.
I think I want to chime in on what you were saying about job displacement. Rather than you displacing a job for a designer or developer, think about if you just had to go to school for another 4 years to get a degree to learn how to do that and then do it. I think you just saved yourselves years of learning and packed into 8 hours. So it's allowing you to level up much faster rather than you displacing jobs. People are becoming a lot more efficient, a lot more effective. They're able to learn a lot faster. I think, especially at the universities, students are using this. ChatGPT just released a study session allowing students to be able to use it to study a lot more effectively. So yes, jobs are kind of being displaced, but I think people are becoming more effective to be able to displace those jobs. And again, I would highly recommend everybody to go check out a podcast every single day. It takes 20 minutes, and again, you'll become much more advanced than 99.99% of people that are just talking about it, because not a lot of people are actually listening to it or reading about it or doing it.
Hey, Robin, Drew, Thomas, Kyle, thank you all very much for being here.
He's telling us to get lost now.